I just realized when you saying that, like, I just realized, like, you know what it is that like the internet, those sites specifically, they brought the New York City-ness of hip hop to everyone everywhere. So like where we always had a Chinatown, Harlem, certain places that we knew we could go get mixtapes. We had mixtape, mix show DJs playing on our regular FM Monday through the whole week, Sunday through Saturday. 24 hours, 7 days a week, where we had that level of exposure, where we had Stretch and Bobbito like curating these up and coming underground rappers that nobody had heard before, where we had that and the rest of the world didn't. The internet brought that to the rest of the world. It was like, here you go. Like, here's everything that exists that is popping everywhere. And that's
just to like add on to that question though, was there anything that was like hip hop radio that would give you guys kind of a taste of new stuff that would people were buzzing to in Boston at that time?
Oh, I mean, there was Jam at 94.5, which is still around, and that was probably the leading radio station in regards to like the latest hip hop, rap, R&B joints. So if there was a new song out, you could tell how hot it was by how many times in an hour this radio station played it. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that, there was Source Magazine. That was kind of like the only other way to really see what was hot and what was popping was through the magazines and through, mixtapes at that time was really popular. And so sometimes locally, people would go to New York, get a bunch of mixtapes, whether from DJ Clue, DJ whoever, bring them to Boston and sell them. And so that also became a way for us to hear, maybe that next cat that's ready to blow up from New York or from Philadelphia or from, wherever he's from on the East Coast or the Midwest or the West Coast or whatever. There's a lot of people I heard from the first time on DJ Clue tapes.
Okay.
And from there, I would hear this mixtape and I would be like, damn, this dude is fire. Who is French Montana? Who is, whoever. And then from that song, I would want to hear more songs. I would go right to my Napster and find that fucking song. And then look for more. You know what I'm saying? So outside of that, there wasn't a lot of access to a lot of the new stuff that was popping, the underground guys that were good. And, before the internet age, news didn't travel that fast. So unless it was television, or unless it was like a major label backing and pushing a specific artist or
music
record,
videos and playing on everybody's radio everywhere,
MTV, BET, VH1, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we know all those names throughout the years, like that's why Criss Cross is one of those names, like same as MC Hammer or Vanilla Ice, right? Because these are people that like their hits became so global that like they're known everywhere.
Yeah.
It's ubiquitous.
Yeah,
but it's super interesting because like, I mean, Montreal's kind of the same, right? Like we got stuff even later though because it was Canada. It would be like a different release date, right? At some point, we got aligned. But even today in the world, there are places where like video games don't release. Some countries just get it like 3 weeks later or whatever. And that's still a thing that happens. Not with music because whatever it is what it is with Spotify's and whatnot. But so it's interesting to hear that, all of that, right? Because again, it like also it means that honestly you're only being exposed to like the best of the best in a sense, right? Because it's only whatever could like trickle its way to you, whatever was hot enough to come from New York to you. It wasn't just gonna be like everything, which is super nifty to me. Was there a lot of like shows and stuff that you would go to when you were in high schools and teenage years and whatnot?
out here, not really.
Mm.
Boston never has been, and even now still is not a huge hip hop city. And I say that in a sense of, having been to New York and spent time there in Los Angeles and other places. Um, you could go to New York and go to EO Dub or go to, certain places, certain events, damn near daily. Monday,
Mm.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If depending on where you were, you might could go find an open mic. You might could go find, a mixtape release party. You could go, certain things. But out here, the city does not support that. If we go to a venue, if I go right now to a venue in downtown Boston, I say, hey, I want to do a show here, a hip hop show. They'll charge me 3 times, but they would charge you if you went in there and said, I want to do a country show.
Mm. Yeah, fair enough.
That's just how it is. That's how it's always been. And for, as somebody who, in my early 20s was running a battle league in a battle company, it was super frustrating to have to deal with.
I can imagine.
I could not get close to the inner city of Boston because the venues would price me out.
Yeah,
And unless I wanted to take an extraordinary loss financially, it didn't make sense for me to even, pursue it beyond that point.
It was just Middle East, right? Like, that's it, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Middle East
was
and Paradise
it's one
Rock
of those
Club.
one of those venues that like they got their promoters and that's it, bro. Like nobody else is here to make money.
Like,
this isn't for nobody else. This isn't a venue that like other promoters can use and like Chilla could have went in there and thrown a like nah. It's not the way it works.
Yeah, I wonder like how many places are like that. Honestly, I don't think a lot about it, but I know Montreal has I wouldn't say it's that bad, but we have our own versions of that happen here, where like hip hop is definitely has issues. Just the word alone, everything changes. If you're a bunch of rappers, it doesn't even matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you look like me. I promise. You say the words hip hop, and it's what it is.
And it's a problem, absolutely.
But no,
that's to this day.
Yeah, 2021 for real.
To this day.
Well, to be fair, nobody knows what it is now.
Corporations and corporate environments aren't hip hop friendly. What's funniest though is that like at one point or another, all companies and corporations throughout the last 10 to 20 years have at some point or another tried to do something hip hoppy. You know what I mean? Because of what it is. Like with like the impact is global and like it like I tell people all the time, it's like the 70s and the 60s and that era, that was like a rock era, like the 70s, maybe early 80s, that was like a rock era and that was the rock era, period. Like there were other forms of music, absolutely, but rock ruled in that era. And like come along to nowadays, like hip hop rules the world. Like everybody across the entire globe listens to some form and variety of hip hop.